All right, we are live, and probably for the last time ever on Google Hangouts, as they're ending August 1st, as I read. Uh, but that's not what the recording is about. But the NBA has begun to just take over the entire world at this point. I'm here with Justin. Justin, say hi.
Hey guys, what's up?
And before we even talk about the NBA, do you know the last time we actually recorded anything?
Probably around the NFL draft.
Yeah, it was the NFL draft. So there you go. You get a point.
Oh wow, perfect.
But Justin decided that he wanted to go live today. So, Justin, why are we here?
We are here because there is a fire sale happening in Oklahoma City right now. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN just tweeted out, the Oklahoma City Thunder have agreed to trade Russell Westbrook to the Houston Rockets for Chris Paul, first-round picks in 2024 and 2026, and pick swaps in 2021 and 2025. So that goes along with the Oklahoma City Thunder trading away PG-13, Paul George, to Los Angeles for a absolute crap ton. So right now, it looks like the Thunder are in full rebuild mode.
Yeah.
So it's going to be nice to see the Knicks not in last place in the league this year.
Well, it's a different conference, so at least you have that.
And I'm just talking all NBA.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Thunder now have 8 first-round picks acquired since draft night.
That's absolutely insane.
They have the 2020 Denver pick. There's obviously protection on most of these, but the 2021 Miami, 2022 Clippers, 23 Miami, 24 Clippers, 24 Houston, 26 Clippers, 26 Houston. So they are in very good position to at least rebuild there.
Yeah. And they also were able to acquire some of those picks from Jeremy Grant being traded to Denver.
Yeah, that's where the Denver pick comes in.
Yeah, exactly. So all of these trades are just setting up a new era in Oklahoma City Thunder basketball. I think they were closest to a championship when they had Durant and Westbrook. And then once Durant left, all the wheels fell off that bus. And they kind of realized, you know what? We have a real opportunity here to build from scratch, build through the draft, possibly get some free agents after the fact, and just start a total rebuild and work their way up to a championship through the organic way, as compared to some teams now that are turning to free agency to just completely bypass the whole draft right system.
Yeah, well, I mean, the closest they got to a championship was when all 3 of them were on the team and they were in the finals against Miami. But I mean, yeah, they really had a chance. The whole squad of that team is gone. I mean, Russell Westbrook just got traded. Harden was traded. KD left. Paul George is gone. Serge Ibaka left. I mean, they really lost all their core pieces. Steven Adams is gone.
Yeah. What I'm just curious of is there was tension between Chris Paul and James Harden because both of them are my ball players, and you didn't exactly fix that when you traded them away. I mean, Westbrook has been known to hog and demand the ball at times, and James Harden, because he's not very good at defense, is only really effective when the ball is in his hands. So it's going to be interesting to see how Westbrook and Harden can now play together. I know they played together in Oklahoma City, but with the way James Harden developed into one of the league's biggest superstars compared to who he was when he was just a sixth man coming off the bench in Oklahoma City for those first couple of seasons. It's going to be interesting to see the dynamic between them. I guess it's good that they do know each other and that they are familiar with each other. So hopefully that takes a little bit out of the growing pains. But overall, I mean, this is either going to go really, really well or really, really, really bad for them. And I don't see it being like a middle of the road thing. It's either really good or really bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a very good move. I think there really wasn't much they could do at this point in Thunder. I mean, you tried to get Jimmy Butler back at the trade deadline. You offered 4 first-round picks, and you couldn't get him.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when these two last played in the 2011-2012 season, that was the last year Harden did not become an All-Star. And he was averaging 13 points in the 3 years in Oklahoma City off the bench. So, obviously, this is a completely different James Harden. And he developed into a top 5 player in the NBA right now.
Yeah, depending on who you ask, maybe top 3.
Yeah, and Westbrook, I mean, he has this tendency when people leave him, they get a lot better. I mean, you have Oladipo, who got better once he left OKC. You have Durant, who once he left, he got better, at least being less limited. I still think he was a very good player in OKC.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen with Paul George, with Sabonis it happened, and you could say with Harden, but I think just him growing into an actual player at 22 years old on the OKC when he left, I think that also plays a big role.
I mean, one of the big things, and I mean, I mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago, everyone except Sabonis seems to be like a my ball type of player. So when you're with Russell Westbrook, who runs the point and he's bringing the ball up all the time, I just feel like, and I know Russell Westbrook has averaged some like triple doubles the past couple of seasons, but still he's mainly a my ball player. And that goes against what Harden does. That goes against what Paul George was doing. That goes against what Kevin Durant does. So, like, I don't know if he's the right fit for this team, just given the fact that they already have a star who demands the ball all the time. And that was ultimately what I felt part of the downfall for Houston, because Chris Paul was also the guy demanding the ball all the time. So you had that 1-2 dynamic that just wasn't working. And I know they, like, Daryl Morey went out and said, like, oh, no, it's basically all bullshit. Like, it's like he didn't request a trade. I mean, I think if they didn't request a trade and they said we have no plans to trade him, well, he just got traded to Oklahoma City and a crap ton of picks. So it's going to be really interesting this season. And just the entire West has changed. It seems like almost every single team in the West now has 2 superstar players, and it's just going to be a matter of which one works.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right there. We have to see which one works. I don't think being aggressive to just be aggressive at this point is smart. I don't think that they will coexist. I mean, playing devil's advocate, Westbrook has averaged the most assists per game in the past 2 years. Mm-hmm. So he does pass. I mean, whether or not it's just stat padding is arguable.
Which I know you claim a lot, that you think he just pads his stats a lot.
Yeah, I'm not a big Westbrook guy. So
yeah, I know.
So I mean, that could just be me being a hater towards him. But I don't see a potential where he can change what he's been the past 11 years in his career, which is just a ball dominant guard. And now you have 2 of them in Houston. I understand they just did this with Chris Paul for 2 years, but once you had James Harden leading that team, they were able to get that 30 points a game streak going. I understand that they weren't winning as much, but if you get some guys and just center it around a Harden, I think this team would have been this Rockets team at least would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was better. I think it was a better idea, and we saw it, like you just said, with that long 30-game point streak, that 30-point per game streak that Westbrook had. He was demanding the ball, but he was also being dynamic enough that he was passing it off to his teammates, and he was able to get all of his own points as well. And that just comes from everyone playing their own role and being a role player as opposed to being a superstar like James Harden is. There's only a handful of those guys in the league. So, I mean, Houston was lucky enough to have one of the better superstars on, like, in order, like in sequential order of like best to worst. He's like right up there at the top. Like you said, top 5, probably. Maybe top 3, depending on the season or the day when you ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just looking through Twitter, they announced that before these 2 trades, the Westbrook and George, that the Thunder were 40-1 odds to win the title. And right now they sit at 500-1, which is the 4th worst in the West.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, just as you said earlier, there's a lot of teams that have 2 or more players just that are very top tier, top of the line players at this point.
Yeah.
With this going now with their teams, I don't really see how a Harden and Westbrook team can be. I think they're going to be fighting for a 6 seed at their top, and that's hard to say with 2 MVP talents that you have.
2 former.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. You have the 2016-2017 MVP, and you have back-to-back MVPs.
Exactly. So I just want to play a little game with you.
Okay.
So I want to rank where Harden and Westbrook are as far as the 2 duos, as far as like duos in the West. So, like, just to recap.
You said in the NBA or the West? I'm sorry.
Just in the West.
Okay.
West is where most of these are. I mean, the East is like basically has 1, essentially. And that's Kyrie. That's Kyrie KD.
Arguable. I mean, you could say Philly.
Okay, yeah. So
Boston.
Do you want to do all NBA or do you want to just do the West? Because I feel like the West is.
I mean, we can do the West.
Okay. So the Lakers have Anthony Davis and LeBron. Then the other LA team, which I think is arguably better than the Lakers, is Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. Then we have Houston now with Harden and Westbrook.
Well, I still think there's a few ahead of that.
Well, I'm not. I'm just giving.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to rank them.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Who else is there?
I think Utah with Conley and Donovan Mitchell. If you want to replace Conley with Rudy Gobert, who just won his 2nd Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay. I'll take
I still think, and I don't know if you're thinking about it with the health, but you have Golden State with the Splash Brothers.
Very true. Yeah.
You have CJ and Damian. Let me look at the West teams. I have to think of it if anybody else.
Well, what about? How do you think it could be Dame Lillard and Hassan Whiteside, who's now part of Portland?
I don't know after how he's been playing the past couple of years, but I mean, you could argue it.
Okay.
Since
we have those teams down, because I think we kind of knocked off all the big ones.
Yeah, and then you also have like the Timberwolves, if you want to count with Andrew Wiggins, and Karl Anthony Towns. But
I don't want to count those guys.
Yeah, so I mean, really, that we've had all of them.
We have seen that they are vastly overrated.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, you're gonna do.
That's a great player, Andrew Wiggins. Still a good player, but not nearly near in the same tier of guys that we're talking about here.
And then, I mean, if you want to argue it, you could put some guys on the Pelicans together. You could put like a Zion and Ingram or a Derek Favors, something like that. I know that's more potential.
Yeah, that's more potential. I feel like we could talk about them in like 2 or 3 years from now, being a really good team once they all have a chance to develop together and chemistry back. But right now, so we have the 2 LA teams. We have Portland. I guess we'll count Portland. Golden State, Houston. You can add Utah if you want. So, like, how would you rank those top, like those two superstar teams, best to worst, top to bottom?
Top to bottom, I would
Yeah.
probably put the Clippers one. I really think Kawhi is arguably the best player in the league right now.
Okay.
And then adding Paul George is going to make them that much better.
And I mean, it's they don't have to be that good offensively because just the two of them together are all pro defense.
Yeah, you're guarding the wings, which are one of the best players, or best players on a team in general now.
Yeah, like some of the best players in the league are playing the wings, and you have the two top wing defenders on your team. I mean, I think sky's the limit for the Clippers going forward. All right, so you have the Clippers.
Then I would put the Lakers.
Okay.
I mean, you have some question marks. You have LeBron coming off his first big injury. You have if Anthony Davis could be that player on a winning team. I know he's been to the playoffs a couple times now. I think he's been there twice, but he's only won one series. How he can play against a top of the line team 4 out of 7 times and win remains a question. I mean, I would put Golden State ahead of both these teams if healthy, but I mean, with this where they are now, I would put Golden State third.
I agree with that. I do. Yeah.
And then here I would argue I would put probably the Trailblazers here. I mean, they play well together, CJ and Dame. Last year they combined for 47 points a game. And I mean, they led at halftime by double digits against the Warriors a couple games in their series. I think they're a very good team at this point. And they added Hassan Whiteside, who's going to make them better.
Yeah, definitely.
Then I would probably put Houston. There's the ball handling question you got to deal with at this point, and how they play now that Harden is top 5, top 3 in some cases talent in the NBA, and then you have Westbrook with 4 years, who's been playing like this. He played like this in UCLA, not to the extent, and he played like this for 11 years in the NBA now.
Mm-hmm.
Just I control the ball, and I'll pass it to you, but you guys have to really work off the ball. James Harden is an ISO type of player, and you saw the Rockets really work the best the past couple of years when one of those two guys would just play off the ball for a little while and just let the other guy take over.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I would put Utah. You can flip-flop those last two, but Rudy Gobert is a defensive beast at this point, to put it lightly. And I really think Donovan Mitchell is going to step up, not having to really be a leader on this team in his 3rd or 4th year. They have Conley that could do that type of role.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they would probably be like 7th, 8th in total NBA in duos. Which is a very good plug because I just did a video on my channel, top 10 NBA duos after the Kawhi Leonard stuff.
There you go.
But
so, like, just jumping off of what you said, I guess I'll do my rundown quick. I'll just give the teams because you basically went through and gave reasons for each one. I'd probably go Clippers, Lakers, Warriors. You said Warriors might be 2 if healthy. I still think Kawhi and Paul George are going to be a better team overall than the Warriors next season because losing Durant is just monumental.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the Warriors. I'm actually going to put Houston right below them. Yes, they're losing. Chris Paul. But they're getting Westbrook, who's a better and younger player. And they were able to they were still a really good team, even with that dynamic that we're talking about now. So I think that with an even better player in Westbrook over Chris Paul, I still think that they can be a good team to be reckoned with in the West, but it's only if they can get it to click early on. If we let this linger out through like mid-season, then like at the All-Star break, we're like, listen, whose team is this? Like, who's the primary guy? Who is the guy on the team? They have to get that done in preseason or like the first month of the season. They have to knock that out of the way because that's not going to work coming down the stretch of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you have Westbrook, who's 30 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, again, a tiny bit younger. Chris Paul was 34. But, I mean, I really see this as being Chris Paul's way to eventually get to the Lakers finally. Because I don't see a place where they could trade this Chris Paul now again. And this deal was reportedly almost happened about a week ago, if I remember. But Chris Paul didn't want to go to OKC. I don't know if now they said we'll waive you, and that would be.
I mean that.
It's a lot of money you would have to do for a buyout.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. So they'd probably have to waive him.
But
at this point, OKC doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, really, what are they? They're not spending their money to win at this point. In this couple of years,
this is just going to be player development.
Yeah, how long is Chris Paul's deal right now?
He has another 2 or 3 years.
Chris Paul has 4 more years on his deal. Oh, I'm sorry, no, that's including. So he has 3 more years. That's including last year on this. What I'm looking at.
Yeah,
but I mean, this Rockets, they have a decent squad. They have under contract. They have Westbrook, Harden, Capella, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, and then I don't know what deals they did throughout the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if I'm Chris Paul, I don't want to be waived because, I mean,
you don't think? Well, he gets his money if he's waived. He gets this whole contract still.
True.
And then what I think could happen.
And then he could sign for the vet minimum anywhere.
Yeah, and then he still has his money, so he won't have to worry. I think he could end up in a Lakers uniform if he gets waived. Go play with his friend LeBron.
That would be interesting, and then suddenly that elevates the Lakers to like maybe over the Clippers at that point.
Yeah, I mean they have Boogie Cousins coming off the bench possibly.
And they're looking for a point guard. I mean, right now LeBron is the point guard, but that's just because they don't have a point guard to take the ball up for them.
Yeah, I mean, if he could do that
would change real quick.
Yeah, because I think they're doing that because they want to have a veteran off the point to off the bench at least because they have Rondo under contract and they seen what he could do, but I don't think he's a starting point guard on a championship team right now. All right, I don't know if you were frozen. But really, Daryl Morey at this point, I mean, he's traded a lot of picks in the first round. And
yeah.
I don't know what you could say. What?
They're going all in. Like they see that their championship window is now with Harden. And if they don't, this is going to be boom or bust for Daryl Morey and the Rockets. Because if they don't get a championship here with Harden, it's going to be a long, long time till I think they get one.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to tell you the teams in the West outside of the Rockets. And then you're going to tell me if you think the Rockets are going to be better than them this coming season, okay?
Sure.
All right, so I'll go down the records. So the Warriors. Or we can make this easier. Just if these two teams are in a series, a best-of-7 series, do you see the Rockets having a chance? All right, that's a little easier.
I do, yeah.
So you think the Rockets have a chance against these Warriors?
Yes, because Clay is going to be out for most of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but if playoff time these two teams face off, I don't think the Rockets have a chance. Clay will be healthy by then, assumingly.
Yeah, but I mean, then you still have to worry because I'm not sure who they're going to have on their bench anymore. I mean,
But
they have
they'll probably have D'Angelo off the bench.
They have D'Angelo Russell off the bench, but Iguodala's gone. They waived Sean Livingston. There's still a big question, I think, about who their center is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, they have questions.
It's kind of been a revolving door at center, even when they were winning the championship. At one point, it was Zaza Pachulia.
Yeah.
Boogie Cousins, and like it's just been. I feel like it was the big four, and then their center, and you never knew who their center was going to be when the season started. So it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they could place in like a Kevon Looney at center, who's more of a forward, but yeah, I mean, I can see questions coming there. All right, the Denver Nuggets.
Do I think the Thunder are better than Denver?
Do you think
Rockets.
the Rockets could compete could win a 7-game series against them in the playoffs?
Yes, I do.
I don't. I mean, you have Jamal Murray there. You have Paul Millsap, who's underrated at this point, in my opinion. And you also have what's the European guy's name on their team that I can't think of?
Jokic.
Yeah, Jokic. I couldn't think of him. And then I mean, Michael Porter. I was looking at Gary Harris.
Michael Porter Jr. If he can,
yeah, if he plays. And then you also have Bol coming off the bench to provide length.
True.
I don't think they can compete with the Nuggets at this point.
It comes down to young versus old, in my opinion. Just because, I guess, just the way I remember watching sports in general or the NBA, I usually tend to go with experience over the new guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because that history tells me that's usually how it goes. But I just think Harden and Westbrook are better than every player on the Nuggets. So if the two of them can figure their shit out, I think they can propel them to win a 7-game series if need be in the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay, then you have the Trailblazers.
Yes.
I could see them winning a 4 out of 7. I don't think they're going to be seeded higher than the Trailblazers team, but I could see them winning a 4 out of 7. So we're in agreement there. Utah.
Yes.
That one I'm a little iffy on, but
you're just a Utah apologist.
I'm not. I really do like this Utah team though that they've assembled this year.
Yeah.
I think Mike Conley, he's vastly overpaid, but I think he is still a good player. But
I think one really good thing is you can put Westbrook on the primary ball handler who's also a good scorer because he's much better than Harden defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Just push Harden over to like the shooting guard or the secondary ball handler. I think if they can do that defensively, they'll be okay. Doesn't help the offense, but at least defensively, you're a little bit more of a sure thing than watching a guard run into the paint past James Harden. He just stands there and watches them, as we've seen so many times on Twitter, and I love it.
6th seed was the Thunder. Obviously, they're better than the Thunder are now. 7th seed was the Spurs. Yeah, I mean, you have the Popovich point, but I don't think the Spurs are anything they used to be. And I'm going to take your silence as agreeing.
Yeah.
All right. Eighth seed last year with the Clippers.
Clippers are going to be near the top this year.
Yeah. Do you think they have a chance in a 7-game series? No.
No.
Then some teams that were out of the playoffs. We have the Kings. Or here, tell me if you think any of these teams that missed the playoffs have a chance. Outside of the Lakers. Obviously, we think the Lakers are a better team, right? Right. There we go.
Yeah, right.
All right. So the teams that missed the playoffs, stop me if you think any of these teams have a chance. The Sacramento Kings, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Pelicans, who are a little have a chance in my opinion, but they can't do it. They're close. The Mavericks with Kristaps Porzingis healthy, and the Phoenix Suns. Any teams there you think that could challenge the Rockets?
Maybe the Mavericks if Porzingis comes back and plays the way he can play. Doncic has another season like he had last year, and everything goes right for Dallas. Maybe then. I'm not saying they're going to completely. I'm not saying they're going to win a series against Houston. I'm just saying that maybe it's going to be closer than people might originally think it might be. I think Houston's a better team on paper, but they have been known to be the better team on paper and just completely shit the bed.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The questions I have with this Rockets team as constructed now, and there's really not much more moves they can do. One, with contract, and two, where we are in free agency at this point with who's still available.
Yeah.
Your bench, they don't really have that big of a bench at this point with people that are signed. Where they fall in these standings, because I think the Warriors still are going to be ahead of them in the standings. I don't think by much. I don't think they're going to be a top seed. But you have the Lakers, Clippers, Jazz, Trailblazers, Nuggets. I think they're going to be fighting for a 6-7 seed. And I mean, you could argue that they might miss the playoffs. Just trying to get their chemistry together.
Yeah.
Again, just trying to figure out, okay, who's going to be the guy at the end of games.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see how it all plays out because, I mean, it's July 11th, and there's so many questions going into the season that I feel we just need answers to. And hopefully as we get closer to the season and through like training camps and the preseason and like NBA preseason and even early on in the season, hopefully some of those questions are answered because right now there's just too many unknown variables to really get a set thing, to really get like a set ranking on the West right now or even the East because you don't know how like teams still aren't done getting guys. Because, So I mean, it's just tough to see like where they're at because we could say right now, yeah, the Lakers don't have a point guard, they're fucked, and then the like you said, the Thunder end up waiving Chris Paul a week from now, and he then becomes a Laker, and suddenly the West is just an even bigger question mark than what it is right now at this moment. So there's just way, way, way too many unknowns and questions about all the teams. Just seeing how they all mesh, like even LeBron and AD. How is that dynamic going to work? Because LeBron has been getting more assist happy as he gets older in his career, but still, he's LeBron James and he's going to be the primary ball handler, even if he's not a point guard, or even if they get a point guard, he's still going to be the primary ball handler at all
times. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are thinking that the Thunder are going to hold on to Chris Paul at this point. It looks like.
Maybe.
But I mean, if you're a lottery team, which I think that they are in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, what good does it do if you keep him? I understand they're probably going to try to look for a trade partner for Chris Paul.
Yeah.
But with that contract, he doesn't look that great, and he's going to miss 20 games a year nowadays.
Yeah. And even if you keep him until midway through the season or until the trade deadline, maybe a contender says, oh, hey, like, we need a point guard. Like, our point guard's hurt. We need a point guard. You trade whoever for whoever, and maybe you get some good players out of it at the trade deadline.
Do you think that he could get traded to the Spurs? I think that would be an interesting fit.
Do they have the cap room for that? They have because they have Rudy Gay, LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, I mean, they can make cap room. I mean, you could trade one of those three and a couple picks and just match the salary. But, I mean, last year they had their point guard issues where every point guard they ever had just ended up missing the year.
Yeah.
And if you want, I don't know how much longer Popovich wants to coach, because obviously he's going to coach there until he just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to try to build him a championship roster, I think Chris Paul could be that guy with a LaMarcus Aldridge and DeRozan, if DeRozan would still be there in that trade.
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting move. But you also have now everybody that says Chris Paul hasn't got to a conference finals. Now he's not doing it if he stays in OKC.
Now he's not even making the playoffs if he stays in OKC.
Yeah, I mean, the West is that heavy.
I'd love to see Chris Paul like just on the side of the road at like a bus station in Oklahoma City waiting to be picked up. Oh, that'd be so funny to me.
Yeah, I mean, just think about 2-3 years ago, we had that Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, Russell Westbrook team.
And everyone thought that they were going to be.
I thought they were making the Western Conference Finals in that team, and they.
And what did Carmelo do? Didn't do anything.
Yeah.
What did the rest of the team do? Jack shit.
Last time I think Melo did something was Denver, arguably New York.
He was good for the first couple of years in New York.
I wasn't a Knicks fan, so I just hated on him.
I was a Knicks enthusiast. I wouldn't call myself.
Speaking of Knicks enthusiasts, did you hear who's trying to join the NBA again?
No. Oh, Amari Stoudemire.
Yeah, Amari.
My boy. I love Amari Stoudemire.
The Knicks' backup plan to the Heat Big Three.
Listen, the second I heard Amari Stoudemire took baths in red wine to rejuvenate his body, he was at the top of my list in middle school. I was like, this guy is a baller. And he says jump, I'll ask how high. I would die for Amari Stoudemire. And then he played the way he played, and I quickly changed my mind on that sentiment.
A comment that we have: Westbrook gonna make Harden demand a trade. I don't think that Houston would allow that to happen. I think Westbrook would be gone before that would happen.
Yeah, if Westbrook said, "Okay, it's either me or James," Westbrook should just start packing his bags and get ready to go to like Minnesota or somewhere because they are not getting rid of him. They're not getting rid of Harden. Because on the surface, Harden in my mind is a better player than Westbrook.
Yeah, and also you have the legacy aspect. I mean, if Harden were to retire today, he'd make the Hall of Fame. He's going.
And you know how bad that looks. If Houston was just like, you know what, see ya, and they keep Westbrook, that would be a PR nightmare for them. And in the future, to get free agents, it's going to make it impossible. It's like the Knicks now. Like the Knicks have a reputation of being really shitty to their players. That's going to magnify Houston times 10 if they do that to James Harden of all people.
Yeah, and another thing on that is, they ran this by James Harden before saying we're doing this deal.
Oh, 1,000%.
He's their cornerstone. They're saying, hey, you're our best player that we've had since probably Hakeem.
Yeah. James Harden has a seat at the conference room.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't argue. Especially with how much power NBA players have nowadays.
1,000%.
And then one thing I didn't get to talk to you about, the NBA now having challenges. You a fan of that?
Yes, I am.
I'm not. I think we're getting too much into replay. I mean, we see it in baseball, who's been big with this now, testing out a lot of stuff with the stealing first base now. I know it's a different sport, but NBA seems like the only league where the last 2 minutes of a game don't take 20 minutes. And now you are. I mean, it's not too much of challenging. And you only have one challenge, win or lose, which I'm okay with.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's what I like about it. It's not over the top. I think it's a responsible amount, even if they made it 2 challenges. Because 2 challenges over the course of 48 minutes is still a decent. It's still, I think it's responsible. I think when you get to like 3 challenges, 4 challenges, like I think that's when it gets crazy.
Yeah.
So I like it. I personally am a fan of replay. If you can do everything in your power to make sure that the game is as fairly called and as efficient as possible, I am 1000% on board for that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from on that. And one thing I really like that the NBA is doing on theirs is you have to call a timeout before saying I'm challenging.
Yep.
So you have to call a timeout.
Strategy of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you get 7 timeouts. Coaches know by now how to plan their timeouts.
Exactly.
Make sure they have the efficient times. And now they have to worry about, okay, if I'm challenging this play, I'm calling a timeout, and that could mess up my rotation down in the second half if you do it early. I'm not a fan of them challenging personal fouls. I don't know how deep you read into it. But basically, if you have a blocking charge or a block or a charge call and they call it, a coach could challenge that, which I understand why those are one of the hardest things to call.
Yeah.
And you're just throwing your refs under the bus on that point. But I understand why.
I feel like some of them. I feel like part of refereeing and like umpiring refereeing is some stuff. I know it's written in the rules, but like there's context. You lose that context. Like maybe it's like the last couple of minutes of a playoff game, and you decide, you know what, we're just going to let them play. So maybe you're not calling everything because you're just saying, you know what, it's not that bad. It didn't affect them that much. But then a coach comes in, steps in, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, it is a foul. And like legally, like if a guy's pinky hits the shooter's arm, but like just grazes it, technically he has to call a foul there, even though it's not really a foul. So I think they have to work. Like they still have to implement this. I want to see how it is. Maybe we could just like be freaking out about nothing, and this is going to be a great thing. Because the NBA usually has their shit together on stuff like this compared to the NFL or Major League Baseball. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it a little bit in the Summer League, and I've been watching too much Summer League at this point, where I watch like 2 games a day, which is a very scary time for a guy who could be doing a lot of better things in their life at this point, to be quite frank. But I'm just looking through this to see. So right now, the Rockets are 7-1 to win the NBA title. They're 4th in the NBA. They're behind the Lakers, Clippers, and Bucks. I really agree with that. I think it would put a team like Philadelphia, which I hate to say, put like a Philadelphia ahead of them. Which is something funny I didn't tell you. I was working and I had this song stuck in my head and I couldn't think of the song. And it took me about an hour to realize what it was. And I was saying that, clap your hands, everybody.
For Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, I got that stuck in my head, but I don't know how.
It's so catchy. I'm not even a Sixers fan. I sing it to myself all the time.
Yeah. Just to show you where Westbrook stood in Thunder history. This includes the Supersonics, so this counts where they were. In just the Thunder era, he ranked first in all of these, but in their all-time franchise stats, he leads the team in points. He's second in assists, third in rebounds, and third in steals, while being fourth in games played in that franchise history. So they're losing a franchise player.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. But I mean, I think they saw the writing on the wall. And I usually don't say trading away your franchise player is a good thing, but I think in this case, they realize, listen, now's the time to start a rebuild. It's gonna hurt now, but hopefully, if you can draft well with all those new draft picks that you have, and just really, really invest in your player development, I think they could be a really good team in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe a little longer after that. It's going to be interesting, and hopefully, maybe your draft picks can attract some free agents in the future and help expedite the process. But right now, it's going to be a tough road ahead for them.
Yeah, and also the way Westbrook plays is going to be hard watching as he gets older. He's already had that knee surgery from about 3-4 years ago when Patrick Beverley played him in the playoffs when they were calling a timeout. I don't know if you remember that. And he went down, yeah. And he depends a lot on his athleticism. I think a lot more than LeBron does at this point, where he drives to the basket a lot. And when you get older, you're going to lose that. This team's going to be together if they both stay. If both Westbrook and Harden stay there for the remainder of their contracts that they're on, they're there till after the 21-22 season. So that's 3 years. I don't see them winning a championship in those 3 years. I think you have too many teams that are ahead of them. You have the 2 LA teams. You have Philadelphia 76ers. You have the Bucks, who still are going to be a good team. You have, if Durant comes back healthy, you have the Nets. I just think there's too many teams ahead of them to say they're going to win a championship, and I think that was what they thought they did today.
Definitely.
Anything else before we end this?
Nope, I think that's it.
All right, so subscribe to us on YouTube if you have not already. Leave a like. Maybe we'll do this more than once every 2 months. Can't promise you, but
as long as there's big news, I mean, I'm down.
All right, so follow Justin on Twitter at Froley393. Follow me at VinPensabeni. Subscribe to my YouTube channel as well because I need the love. Follow us on Twitter at Long Island Pod, which is something new that I saw that we were actually posting again, which threw me off. It scared me.
Yeah, I posted today.
It scared me when Shane tagged us, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "People actually look at us still?"
Yeah, it was a while ago.
But we are kind of back until we decide we're going to take another hiatus. But until then, we'll be here, and we'll see you guys in the next one.